Are you fresh from watching The Puppet Master on Netflix? Feeling like you have all the disturbing dirt on one of Britain's most elaborate fraudster in recent times? Then you don't know the half of it. The Puppet Master only focused on a few of Robert Hendy Freegard's victims. This is the rest of the story, the complete timeline of Freegard's MI5's reign of psychoterror. Sources for this video are in the description below. Robert David Freegard was born in Derbyshire in 1971. Raised by his mother, Freegard and his sister moved from town to town throughout their childhood. Freegard's former classmates remember him as a socially awkward child who kept to himself and enjoyed pranks. Freegard struggled in school, and at 14 years old he decided to drop out. The saga of Freegard's fraud begins in his hometown when he began dating a 26-year-old school teacher named Alison Hopkins. The brief relationship ended in 1992 when Alison discovered he had stolen her credit card and cleaned out her bank account, despite bragging to her that he was extraordinarily wealthy. She had also loaned him the equivalent of $4,000 in 2022 money for business startup costs, but he had simply pocketed the money. Penniless and feeling duped, Alison tried to end the relationship. Freegard reacted so viciously that Alison decided to leave town. She moved 200 miles away to Newport, Shropshire. When Freegard found out, he followed her. Alison was terror-stricken to find her ex-boyfriend breaking into her house. Freegard, seeing that Alison had rejected him, told friends that he was planning to kidnap her. These friends turned him into the police, and Freegard appeared in court on kidnapping charges in January 1993. Freegard decided to stay in Shropshire briefly, then find a reason to skip town. The reason to leave Shropshire appeared in the form of 3 students from Harper Adams Agricultural College: Maria Hendy, Sarah Smith, and John Atkinson. All 3 were from wealthy farming families. The 3 became regulars at the bar where Freegard, who had adopted the name Rob, had picked up work as a bartender. Rob started dating Maria in December 1992, and 1 month later he began befriending her roommate John. One late night at the bar, Freegard revealed he wasn't actually a bartender. He was a secret agent working for the MI5, the British equivalent of the FBI. Freegard was undercover investigating an alleged IRA militia cell at John's College, where one of John's classmates had recently killed himself after being convicted of IRA gun running. The saga of events that unfolded next is a wild journey that is described in the 3-part Netflix documentary series, The Puppet Master: Hunting the Ultimate Conman, and in nearly endless British press coverage from the mid-2000s. In brief, Freegard convinces John Atkinson to lie about having terminal cancer and coerce his roommates into joining Rob and himself on a road trip. According to the BBC, Freegard reveals that they are all now targets of an IRA plot and must cut contact with their families for their own safety. From 1993 to 1995, Freegard moved the 3 from safe house to safe house, sometimes houses owned by his other victims, before he had them settle down at an apartment in Sheffield. Freegard instructed the 3 to work menial jobs so they could pay Rob's bosses for their protection. Rob was often absent for extended periods of time on business. In actuality, he was maintaining his other cons. He did, however, find time to have 2 children with Maria Hendy, despite the fact that he would later virtually abandon them. One of Freegard's most bizarre cons from their time in Sheffield was his relationship with Simon Young, a jeweler. As BBC and The Times reported, Freegard befriended Simon, then told him he was being recruited. Freegard extorted no money from Simon, but sent him on various humiliating operations. For one of these operations, Freegard sent Simon on a mission, instructing him as to exactly which doors he should use and which escalators, stairs, and bus routes he should take. Freegard instructed him to ride public transportation openly reading a copy of the Gate Times. Simon was then instructed to purchase a can opener, then enter a specific bar establishment and cryptically deliver it to the barman and ask for a specific person. The barman, understandably, was confused, but Simon was instructed he would be acting this way as a test. Told there was no one of that name there, but thinking it was all part of his MI5 evaluation, Mr. Young handed the surprised barman the can opener and said, "Well, when you see him, give him this." His suspicions were only aroused when Hendy Freegard failed to hide his amusement on hearing Mr. Young's account of his mission. The jeweler demanded to see Hendy Freegard's bosses. A meeting was arranged, but Mr. Young was the only one there. By that time, Simon disbelieved everything Freegard said. One of his most abused victims was Elizabeth, who met Freegard in 1996 while babysitting his children. When the two began an affair, Freegard ordered her to cut contact with her family, or he would send explicit photos to her husband. Early in the relationship, Freegard began subjecting her to increasingly severe loyalty tests. As a test ordered by his bosses, Freegard made Elizabeth, a white woman, dress up in a traditional Indian wedding sari, then ride the public bus. He also ordered her to pretend to be a Jehovah's Witness, so his bosses would let him marry her, alter her appearance, and change her last name. By 1997, Freegard had extorted over £300,000 from John Atkinson's family and over £200,000 from Sarah Smith's. After Freegard sent John on another prolonged mission involving a fake letter from Nigel Carter Baines, John, with the help of his family, finally refused Freegard's demands. He was able to cut contact in 1997, although not after meeting with Freegard one final time when, according to the puppet master, Freegard ordered him to strip down to his boxers to check that he wasn't bugged. Among Freegard's other victims was Leslie Gardner, whom he met at a nightclub, introducing himself as an employee of British Nuclear Fuels, whom he defrauded of £16,000, according to a report by the BBC. Despite his frequent absences from Maria Hendy, Freegard married her and changed his name to Robert Hendy Freegard. The con had become pretty financially lucrative by this point. While his wife and two children were on the brink of eviction, Freegard was spending tens of thousands on luxury goods. He bought a Rolex watch, tailor-made suits, and no less than 7 BMWs. By 1998, Freegard became a regular at the Volkswagen dealership in Chiswick, London, where he found his charm worked well on the women, and decided to get a job there. He used his job at the dealership to find new victims, including Caroline Cooper, Elizabeth, Renata Kister, and Kimberly Adams. In 2000, Freegard, still married to Maria Hendy, rekindled his relationship with Elizabeth. After convincing her to take out a £14,000 loan on his behalf and leave her husband, Freegard ordered her to go live on the streets as punishment for failing a test. She was ordered to sleep on a park bench in the cold without a jacket, food, money, or sanitary pads for days or weeks at a time on multiple occasions. This is according to The Guardian. Eventually, he stopped having sex with her, according to an interview from the trial, but he continued to control her, punish her, isolate her, and give her new assignments, still promising marriage off and on in 1996, 1997, and from 2000 until his arrest. In 2000, Freegard became engaged to a 34-year-old lawyer named Caroline Cooper. In 2001, Maria Hendy and her children were evicted. Maria left Freegard later that year after he assaulted her once again. In 2002, Caroline also left Freegard. After the breakup, she started to investigate his past and, with the help of Sarah's father, finally got the attention of Scotland Yard. Meanwhile, Freegard was already seeing 31-year-old Kimberly Adams, and the two became engaged in 2002. Among other bizarre instructions, Freegard made Adams quit her job as a school counselor because she had, quote, AIDS. According to Adams in the Birmingham Post and Mail, he also tried to convince her to move to a lighthouse in the Hebridean Islands for 25 years so the two could monitor Russian submarines. By this point, Freegard had stolen over £22,000 from Adams, £22,000 from Cooper, £25,000 from Kister, and £14,500 from Elizabeth. With the help of a sting involving Kim's parents, Scotland Yard, and the FBI, Freegard was arrested in May 2003 and charged with a long list of crimes. After police located a hotel room in the French Alps containing various missing women's passports, they began to search for his victims. In summer of 2003, they found Sarah working for Renata Kister as a housekeeper, having been instructed by Freegard to pretend she did not speak English. The BBC reported that Elizabeth was not located until fall of 2003, when she was found in Danton Basset, living at a hotel with her body covered in sores. Smith, Atkinson, Caroline, Adams, and Young all testified at his highly publicized trial, which took place at the Crown Court at Blackfriars. Freegard initially had 4 lawyers, but 3 quit out of professional embarrassment. In 2005, Freegard was convicted on 20 counts. 2 counts of kidnapping, 3 counts of procuring the execution of a valuable security by deception, 5 counts of obtaining money by deception, and 10 counts of theft. He was sentenced to life in prison. In 2007, Freegard appealed the kidnapping charges, arguing that Sarah and John could have left him at any time. In 2009, Freegard won the appeal. The kidnapping convictions were overturned and Freegard was released from prison. According to the puppet master, Freegard began dating a woman named Sandra Clifton in 2012 and is now living somewhere in France or England, working on buying and selling pedigree dogs. Freegard insists he has changed and has told the press he is tired of being vilified for senseless mistakes. In 2014, Clifton moved with Freegard, who now goes by David Clifton, and cut off all contact with her family.